Hey guys, Chris Safety Liner C2 here. So, I just did the video about my thoughts on the third gen CE, but this video we're going to cover my thoughts about the HDX2. Now, we don't have a whole lot of information about it, but I've only seen a couple of pictures of it. So, I haven't seen one on the road yet, but I do have some opinions about the HDX that will lead into my thoughts about the HDX2. So, um, I don't have any experience driving these, of course, but I have ridden tons and tons of HDXs in my school years. So, um, here's one thing I have about the HDX. So, the oldest one we had was an '03 model year. It had the shorter windows with the roof hump on the front, and we had the Thomas HDs before those, but so I have ridden that '03 HDX, and it had a Cat C7, Cat 3126 in it actually. So did our Thomas HDs. Our HDs had Cat 3126s, and after that, our HDXs were ordered with Mercedes. Um, so they weren't fast at all. They were very slow, but our HDs with the 3126, they were quick. Like they took off like a rocket. And I really liked that, how fast they were. But I was a little bit disappointed with the Mercedes ones because they were super slow compared to our C2s with Mercedes. Like, our C2s with Mercedes, they were way quicker. And I mean, guys, driving a school bus isn't about being fast, but I'm just saying, like, how I've had experience riding them. They were slow and fast. But anyway, so the HDX hasn't received any changes. Like nowadays, you have all your HDXs have the square LEDs on the taillights, like your C2s. But they started that in 2009 with the square taillights. But before then, they were rounded. But ours were LED all the way around, which except the headlights because they were way too old. But the first thing, the next thing I'm going to talk about with the HDX is the driver's compartment. Like, I have heard things like they were sitting very low on the control panel compared to your T3. Because now with the ICRE discontinued, the control panel was so low. So you literally had to bend over just to get all your switches right. And then pick your, like pull your parking brake and then go back here to do your door control when you stop. That's a lot of movement, and I have heard complaints about that. But the next thing I'm going to talk about is the mirrors, the HDX style mirrors. We've had those for a long time, and our drivers didn't complain about them. But our drivers complained about the driver's compartment being garbage. Like instead of looking straight down at how fast you're going, you got to look over at how fast you're going. And I've heard complaints about that from YouTubers too. But the steering wheel is so big, like it does cover a lot of the controls you have, like your parking brake, your ignition, your shifter, which ours were MD36s or 3000 series on our HDXs. But but yeah, so I like the mirrors because you can literally see everything in one view instead of looking over at your cross views and then look at the side for your body mounted mirrors. So I kind of like the HDX style ones, but of course they changed that now. A lot of HDXs I've seen came with EFX style mirrors. And next video I'm going to talk about the EFX2, but we're talking about the HDX. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is where the driver's seat is. Like there's nowhere to put luggage in those bays, and I've heard complaints about that. Like the seat literally is right in front of the whatever you call that thing that's right behind the driver's seat, and then it starts where the passenger seating area is. It's one of those dividers. I can't remember what they're called, but the seat literally covers that, and you can't put anything there. Like, I know a lot of you guys as drivers, you carry backpacks to take your stuff, and you're on the bus for multiple hours a day, so you have to have some stuff with you. But I have seen a lot of drivers when they drive HDXs, they've I've seen a lot of them put their backpacks like right along the dash, like to the side, and even our drivers have done that. I know they carry backpacks, and I've seen them do that, but anywhere else, you just put it right in front of your feet, and you have to literally have your backpack right behind the calves of your legs. So you have to like maneuver your legs a little bit just to get the bus going and stopping. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. That's kind of unfortunate that they don't provide a little more space like they should. Compared to your T3, because like I said, with the ICRE gone, the T3 is the only competition for the HDX. But that's basically it. Like there was one time we had an HDX catch fire on a run because the engine was smoking because oil and fuel was leaking out of the engine from the intake. So everybody was okay in that scene. There were no kids on that bus, but the driver was. So that was a big unfortunate fate for buses. But not checking your oil and stuff, make sure you do that. Check all your things because you're supposed to do that when you pre-trip inspect the buses too. So, anyways, that's basically all I have for the HDX. It's just there's a bunch of mixed feelings about it, but I don't hate them like as a bus, but they're just not my favorite. And I'd I'd rather have an RE like flat nose as y'all call it, like the rear engines, but the between the two, I would probably stick with the T3 RE. You know, as much as I hate to say that as a Thomas fan, but I'm just trying to show a little bias here. But I know that's a lot of jabbing for an HDX, but anyways, we're gonna show you guys the HDX2. So here is a shot of it, and first things first, you have basically the same exact kit here, and then on the top you have the C2 style warning lights. Now it has a C2 body, of course, and with the door here, it's basically the same door as the C2. I know a lot of you guys don't care for this, but as a C2 fan who's grown up riding C2s most of his life, I'm actually okay with this, with how this turns out. Um, I like the LED headlights, the LEDs being standard. That's awesome. But this shot has the EFX style mirrors. I've seen a few HDXs come with that. Now, this is just the prototype of it, so I haven't seen one in person because we don't have a lot of information about the HDX2. But I did hear they were still working on updates with them. So, here's the next generation of Type D school buses right this way. And you can pause and read all this if you want to. And it still seats up to 90 passengers. The gross vehicle weighting remains the same. So, it's basic. All it is just a HDX put on a C2 body. I've heard something about them being like the reason why they've done this is to save money in production. It's going to save them a lot of money. So, basically, the HDX and the C2 now have the same body and stuff like that. Have the same like technology, I should say. I don't know. But if you guys want to read all this, you're welcome to pause the video and read it. Again with this. But here's one where they're working the warning lights and stuff. I don't really care for how it's like pushed in like that cuz on the C2 it's literally a straight piece, but it looks like they've inserted the warning lights on the HDX2. I'm not a big fan of that, honestly. I like the air conditioning in here too. But here's a shot of that front AC, which this looks like a stock picture of the HDX. And here's a shot of your LED headlight, underbody storage, the cameras, and then I like this picture actually. So here you got towards the back of the HDX, and it has the C2 windows. So this would be the inside of an HDX2. That is just where the firewall is for the engine. There's some of the controls here. This is your Zonar. So they don't have a lot of information about this bus, but just like I did with the third gen CE, we can look at some images on the HDX2. So, let's HDX2. So here's a couple of pictures of the bus. This one's Cameron's reaction on why he wouldn't drive one. Now this was a Facebook post with these weird mirrors. And here's the back of the bus. So again, it has the C2 warning lights and school bus sign. But the rest of it remains in HDX. There's not a lot of pictures on it, but you can clearly see that they put a C2 body on it and just kept it in HDX. I said there's not a lot of information on it, but here's where they're putting all the accessories on it. Yeah, there's not a lot of videos on the HDX too. I said this is going to be a short video, but I'm kind of a little neutral to it, but I'm leaning towards more liking it than disliking it. 'Cause, like I said, I've ridden a ton of HDXs, so that's why, as an experience riding them, they weren't the most comfortable. But I could imagine the new HDXs are a little bit better. Like I said, I have no experience riding newer HDXs, so I would like to see this bus in person, see what it looks like. But there's not a whole lot of information on it, so I can't really give you my full opinion until we see them more into production. But I know the HDX2 is going to grow more into production, so that's basically all I have for the HDX2. Like there's not there's still not a lot of information on it, so we can't really completely give you the opinion, but that's somewhat of an idea I can give you. So, anyways, guys, that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for watching. And again, comment down below on how you feel about HDX2s. And do you feel like they're going to get better into more production as they grow? Or are they just going to remain the same as they are? Because I've heard they're still changing some stuff on it. So, that's basically it. And thank you guys so much for watching.